Hey YouTube, Sam Dennehy. This is Halfass Presents the podcast. Today's special guest is Paul Knowles. Paul Knowles. Doesn't post very much, but he does build some pretty cool stuff. If you've seen his latest post, he posted 3 COE cab over engine car haulers with custom cars. 2 of them had hot rods, and the other one had like a custom lowrider sled. Either way, super excited to have him. Been trying to get him on since the first season, and we're finally going to get this going. So I hope you enjoy it. Paul Knowles, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad to talk to him finally. So stay tuned. All right, looks like it's recording. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents the podcast. Today's special guest, like I said in the intro, is Paul Knowles. Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
Boy, how did I get in this hobby? That's been a long time ago. My grandfather started me on trains, spending the weekend at his house, playing with his trains. As far as the cars and everything else go, I grew up in a body shop, so I've always been around hot rods, always been around muscle cars. Done my fair share of sanding on, lacquer painted Corvettes. Done a lot of that. So, yeah, I grew up with a little bit of everything. I mean, we had trucking companies beside us, so I've always liked trucks. I've always liked old cars. I've always liked trains. So that's where it all started.
That's cool. Well, we know your love for the vehicles. How about the actual, say, models? Like, instead of just staying with trains, how did you decide to say, I want to focus on the cars too? Because most people that have a train set look at the cars and the buildings as just the scenery and the background shot, why they focus on the train.
Right. I think I've probably done what everybody else did at one point in time. I was into 124th and 125th scale cars. So I've built plenty of those, but you only have so much room for those.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm glad that I found this small scale, because the amount of cars I have in this small scale, it would take up this whole entire room, and that's what tables laying cars on, or just shelves and shelves and shelves worth of cars. So
I know a guy that was into model cars pretty hot and heavy, and he had a room probably about the size of the one you're in, and it was nothing but top, ceiling to floor models.
That's crazy.
With his little workbench right in the middle.
Yeah, I know the Hot Wheel world is easily that way, just because they're so cheap and you can collect multiples at anytime you go to Walmart or whatever. But yeah, model cars and then this scale cars, it's a little bit harder, because obviously they're more expensive, and then the model cars, 125th, they're so much bigger. So yeah, that's neat that you were doing that to begin with, or that you dabbled in it, obviously.
And I would love to build more 125th and 4th scale, but I just don't have time. I do collect a lot of die cast. I've got a pretty good size Hot Wheels collection, 1/18th scale stuff, and so on. So. And the real things. I've seemed to collect the real things too.
Yeah, I remember meeting you and your wife at the RPM meet, and you guys telling me that you have real 1/1 scale projects and hot rods.
Oh yeah,
which I think are too cool. That's awesome.
I've got a 31 Model A that's street rotted. I've got a 68 Chevy Nova. Then she's got a 45 International Bell telephone truck, and then I've got a 48 Chevy cab over.
Man, you actually got a cab over. Oh, yes. That's cool.
Yes.
I know you had those 3 models, but...
Yeah, it's nowhere close to being done, but, I got pieces of it here and pieces of it there.
That's the fact that you have it, because you talk about, commercial vehicles, which those are made for, and the cab over engines are some of the rarest that are around. Yeah. Compared to everything else that's around. So
and it's funny too, that cab over I ended up getting off of a guy. He passed away, but I'd been bugging him for years, and I knew him from the train club. He liked the old big boy steam locomotives, and he showed me that truck one day because we're both interested in it. I said, man, I said, Emerson, I said, you guys sell me that truck. He says, nope, I ain't selling it. So, he finally ended up passing away, and his family was getting rid of his stuff. And I'd asked, I said, is that cab over still there? And they said, yeah. So went over and looked at it, and I decided to buy it right then and there. And later on, we ended up having to cut the mirrors off the truck because he had built the barn around it.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, and that was the easiest way to go. We cut the mirrors off.
Yeah, well, that's probably not that bad of a problem considering, if he, depending on what else you could have cut to possibly get it out, that's probably the least problem area to have to fix.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's cool that you have that. And it's cool that you're into models. I mean, obviously you build 187 scale and that seems to work. But obviously you're into that scale because you're into the trains as well.
Yes.
So I didn't know anything about your train set. When we talked, we were talking about hot rods and cars and whatnot. How long have you been building your train set?
Years.
Which most people are.
Right. Well, I haven't even got past the putting track down. I mean, I think I've got one set of benches built on one side of the wall, and that's it. And it's been that way for years. Life gets in the way, kids and work, and mostly work.
Right. Yeah. And life's more important than hobbies. You got to make sure you have food and, drink on the table and a shell over your head before you can worry about hobbies as much.
Well, what's nice about the model railroad part of it is I can combine everything, the cars,
right?
The trucks. I love airplanes too, but that's probably a far stretch of combining that.
Well, I mean, if you can find the few companies that make 187 or probably even close to like 172nd, which is fairly close, but not, super close, you can probably get away if it's just hanging from the ceiling or something.
Right.
And then if you even wanted to go as far as putting like a little tiny motor to get the propellers or, just a speaker for like a jet engine flying overhead or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't have to do any of that. You can just have it hanging from the ceiling too.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what, everybody's into DCC and sound. So everybody loves to have sound in their locomotives. And I run diesel equipment all day long. Last thing I want to do is come home and hear it. So I'm going to have the silent railroad.
Yeah. And you know what? It's all electric.
Exactly.
Literally electric. They were electric before cars were. So how about that?
That is true.
You got the first most realistic futuristic layout. Having no sound.
You got it.
The key is how to even get it quieter now, so you literally don't hear it at all.
Yeah, if I can sit in my train room and drink a beer and watch trains go around, I'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that that you're even building a train set though, because I mean I've been a train guy, but not a diehard train guy. I like trains. I don't love trains like that. I don't ever feel like I ever need to have a train layout, but it would be cool if I did. I just don't feel like I need to ever build one. I can look at them plenty and admire them and for what they are. But yeah, it's neat that you have that passion to build a train set, and then you have the passion to just build all the stuff to go with it too. You're not just putting plywood down and putting as much track down as you can just to get the trains moving. You actually building a train set, like a train layout, which is pretty cool because I'm not building a train set. I'm just building cars and buildings. So,
well, see, I know what you need to do. You need to do the scene in Ghostbusters where they're up on top and they've got the manhole and they're going down to the subway because they make a subway car.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. Out of all the Ghostbusters scenes,
the ladder going all the way down the manhole, and
out of all the scenes, I never thought about that one. That'd be pretty cool. That would actually be really cool. I don't know. I guess I don't know how many people would get it, considering that's from the second movie, and most people don't care for that second movie compared to the first movie.
See, I kind of like both of them.
I like them for what they are. Like, no lie, I love the second movie car. So the second movie car better than I like the first movie car, but I like the first movie better than I like the second movie.
Right.
So if you could have put the second movie car in the first movie.
See, it's kind of like Smokey and the Bandit. I like the first one. The second one was good. I'll watch the second one anytime. The third one was horrible.
I didn't even know there was a third one.
Oh yeah, don't waste
I
your
knew
time.
there was a second one. Wow. That's the third one's got to just pretty much have the Knight Rider car in it then. Even though it was a Trans Am, the Firebird is the same car.
Yeah, it didn't even have Burt Reynolds in it.
Oh, no way. That's why it was bad then. Jeez. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, I don't even like the second movie truck for that movie, Smokey and the Bandit 2. I thought that truck was just stupid looking. The first one is iconic and cool, and you know what it is, and it represents, you know, the 70s, 80s diesel trucks, you know?
Right.
That second movie truck, it was like, oh, let's throw a bunch of money at a trucking company to make this truck for us, and we can have this ultimate ridiculous looking truck.
Yeah.
But the car was pretty much the same, just a couple years newer or whatever. But the truck was horrible, in my opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't bad for what it was. But I think a Peterbilt or a Kenworth would have looked much better.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I keep wanting to build the first movie truck, and I just haven't pulled that trigger yet.
Oh, I seen. I think it's Circus City has the decals available for those now.
They do,
okay.
and they're reasonably priced. I just can't seem to build myself a truck. I mean, because that's pretty much a stock truck with just the paint job, and I hate building stock vehicles.
Open up the doors on the trailer and throw a couple of ramps in back of it and have the TA in back of it coming out.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
because I have that Malibu one that they made, which I think is what everybody has if they have that car.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll get to that eventually.
I know how that goes.
Yeah. I got a bunch of eventually projects that are gonna someday happen, but who knows when.
Right.
But that's pretty cool. So in your model car world, like 125th, were you able to, because this is what I did, I transferred all the skills I had from that scale and I miniaturized it into this scale. So like your coats, how they're painted so super glossy, it looks like real car paint for the most part, even if they're not. But it looks that way. Were you able to transfer those skills down to the smaller scale?
Yes. And I used real car paint because I could get it from the body shop.
Right. So, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that brown one, that root beer or brandy wine, whatever.
Candy root beer, yeah.
Man, that paint job looks so beautiful.
And that's and all that is it's House of Colors candy root beer brown, and then for the clear coat it's just like the floor polish that everybody uses, Johnson wax or whatever it is, and that's all I acrylic. That's all I use for clear coat anymore.
Nice. Well, hey, it really looked great. I mean, that's my favorite coat that you've built out of the 3 that you've recently posted, which are the only 3 I've seen.
Yeah. Well, we ended up going to a Good Guys car show in Kansas, and there was a guy there that had a 32 Ford, and it was that candy root beer brown, and he was running a 409 in it with an orange engine block and orange pinstriping, and I absolutely fell in love with that color combination. And that's where the inspiration came from on that paint job.
Nice. That's cool. I mean, it really shows just how, you see something in real life and you want to try to mimic it. And the few people that have the skills to pull it off, you, me, and, a handful of other people, if you know what you're doing, it really shows. And
sometimes I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, paint-wise, you understand paint, and it's not too hard to transfer real life, 1/1 scale skills down to hobby skills, because you still would have to sand down the paint or sand down the primer or sand and block it or whatever on a model car to get that perfect shine that you would a real car. And even if you didn't need to do that with this little one, there are other projects that real life mimics the hobby world, definitely.
Yeah, and you can get away with a lot more in a smaller scale than you can a bigger scale. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Right. You can
On the
hide
bigger
more.
scales.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's neat that that, because a lot of people don't. That's what I think deters them from, trying to pull off a candy paint job or something. Because they
Right.
think that it's a lot more work than it really is in some cases.
Yeah. And then candy paint jobs are a lot easier nowadays because, man, way back when it was actually a silver base with your candy over it, man,
Right.
you had to get perfect coverage. And that was hard to do.
Yeah, I don't even I build all my cars with spray paint, and I figured out how to manipulate clear colors to pull off what I need to make a candy look.
Right.
And I don't even do any sanding. So I just lay that base coat down thick and then lay some flake or lay whatever and then put that candy over it. And
I remember years ago, we would go to TGNY. That's how long ago that's been. And you could get like these bottles of 99-cent fingernail polish, and you could take it home and reduce it with lacquer and spray it out on a 1/25th or 4 scale car and have some phenomenal paint jobs.
Right. No kidding. I've said it in a few episodes, but that's all I use. Is I either use spray paint for the whole car, or I'll use nail polish for the whole car, or a mixture of both, depending on what I'm trying to pull off. And that nail polish, they make some wild colors that, aren't available in a spray can. So you have to, I don't airbrush anything. So you have to choose one or the other, basically.
Right.
And then I don't even reduce it. I don't even care. I don't even use a paint. I use the paintbrush that the stupid bottle comes with. Because if you know how to lay it before it dries, you can get a really smooth, flat paint job. And then I'm mostly putting decals over it anyways to get like those lowrider, paint jobs or whatever.
Yep.
So you put decals over it, it'll, manipulate the paint so you don't see any flaws in it, and then you just clear the crap out of it, and it hides a lot.
Yeah. So I used to use glass stain a lot too. You could go buy a bottle of glass stain and shoot over a silver base and come up with some pretty wild paint jobs. I know for years, we'd have model contests here in town, and I would go to the model contest and just wipe out the best paint categories. Nice. And people would get so mad at me because I wouldn't tell them what I was doing.
Right. Yeah. What? I'm not going to lie. That seems to be, I don't know when this was that you would do that. I'm guessing maybe 90s or 80s or something, but it does seem that time frame in the model car world, nobody was giving out their secrets and their tricks and their traits. But as of late, people seem to be a lot more willing to help out most people. Even in I think this scale really taught me a lot. Like when I first jumped into this almost 10 years ago or 8 years ago, everybody was so forthcoming and nice to tell you about everything. But when I came from the model car world, they were really tightly kept and didn't want to tell their secrets to anybody.
We had, and a lot of my reasoning for not sharing secrets, we had guys like that wouldn't help you out in anything. And I kind of thought, if you ain't going to help me, I ain't going to help you.
And that's usually what the case was. And I know when I was into it really heavily, when I first started, it was in the 90s and I was a teenager. So I think a lot of the big heads that knew these skills were like, this dumb kid, if he doesn't have it by now, he's never going to get it. There's no sense in telling him. I see what he's laying on the table. It's never going to happen. It'd be like wasting my breath talking to him. But at the same time, I think even if all their skills were just airbrushing, doing other skills like learning how to not super glue a window to the body so it wouldn't frost the whole window.
Right.
Little things I think could have helped a lot, but I had to learn that stuff by trial and error. And I've been modeling for 30 years and I'm not going to stop now. So I figured it out.
Yeah, it's way too much fun. That, and it's relaxing. I mean, after some of the days that I do road construction, so I play out in traffic all day long, and it's nice to come home and relax sometimes.
Yeah, I bet it is. I don't have none of that stress in my life with road construction. I work from home now thanks to COVID.
Yeah,
And
well.
and with that, it allows me to build almost every single day. Like even when I'm on the clock. It'd be a slow day at work and I'll just start putting my models in front of my keyboard and start building.
Well, thanks to COVID, we worked more last year than we have in years past.
That's what's crazy. And you know what? Not to get political or off the subject of models, but it's weird when you see the news, and I don't watch it for the most part. It's super depressing and it's always negative. And then you don't know what's true and what's not anymore.
Yeah.
But it's so weird to think that some people were able to thrive so much more while others didn't. For instance, you guys had to work so much more this last year than you would have if COVID never hit. But then some people, just got hit big time. And I wonder, I think the road construction or just construction in general, like building houses or roads or bridges or whatever, probably blew up a lot more because the people weren't on the road to really affect you guys.
Exactly what it was. Yep.
Yeah. Just like the people building houses, there's not that they're in an area where there's a lot of traffic anyways for other people that aren't in that industry, but they never stopped, even when a lot of other things did.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should come over to my state and fix the freeway. I got a freeway that's been under construction for over 5 years. No kidding.
I lived in South Carolina for a year.
Oh, really? That's even worse than North Carolina.
August was horrible. I hated August.
Yeah, no, the summer to fall is always bad. But being the fact that you were only out here for a year, you didn't allow your body to get used to it.
Is that what it was?
I've been out here for 13 years and I'm pretty used to it now.
Yeah, I lived in Goose Creek, South Carolina for a year.
Yeah, well, I'm from the West Coast, so coming from a dry weather part of this country to a completely wet part of this country. I mean, wet and sweat and wet and rain all the time.
Exactly. It is very humid out there.
Yeah. So you get used to it now. But it's not nearly as bad. But yeah, that first probably 2-3 years I was out here, I was a tech for the cable company. I'm working outside every day.
Oh.
God, I felt like I was getting skinnier by the minute. That's cool. So if you work in that field of road construction, do you have any kind of because I didn't see on your table when you brought that stuff out to the RPM meet, do you have passion to build in that kind of genre of vehicles?
I do, to a point. The only thing that I have is I want to build. I don't want anything past 2000. I think the railroads they had big mergers then, and it just all become one big mess. But I like 2000 and older, but there ain't a whole lot of construction equipment in that time period, and everything.
Is it older? Is all the construction a lot older, like 70s?
It's a lot newer.
60s? Oh, newer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't pay attention to that side of this hobby, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. The 3D print stuff is kind of neat, and I'm trying to get a couple of things 3D printed. I used to do train wrecking for a living, so I've been on a kick for trying to get a side boom for train wrecking done for years now, and I just, for some strange reason, it keeps failing every time I get a good start in.
Oh wow!
I need to get somebody that can do the design that I want, and get that thing 3D printed. And
right. So all you got to do is paint it, basically.
Yeah.
Glue a few pieces and paint the rest of it.
Yep.
Interesting.
I would love to. Well, I do. Well, we do milling, paving, everything. I'm an equipment operator, but I would love to have a pre-2000s mill, asphalt mill and paver and stuff like that.
I just who was I talking to? I talked to a lot of people and I forget. My memory is so horrible. I was just talking to somebody that showed. If you end up watching this, who you are, forgive my retardedness and not knowing who you are, because I literally just talked to you a few days ago. Somebody showed me a gravel paving thing they got from Japan. That was $10. When out here in the States, if you were to get something similar, it would have been like a lot more money. And
Right.
it has 4 wheels, which isn't prototypical to the ones we have out here, but the body and the arm with the conveyor belt to lay it or whatever was exactly the same. I mean, out here we got like those little tiny baby tracks for each side of the wheel. I don't know about your state, but out here we do. And that one had literal wheels on there, not tracks. But he got a road paver, and I thought that was pretty neat. I mean, that's not what I'm into at all, but the fact that that thing exists, but I will say it has the body style and that conveyor belt arm that looks relatively close to today's style.
Right.
So I don't know how many iterations they changed from, say, before 2000 and past 2000, but I mean, it looks relatively close to what we got, on the roads today paving.
A lot of the equipment was still kind of boxy looking, where everything now is rounded and, a lot of fiberglass used on stuff and everything's got curves now.
Yeah. I don't think I have that episode loaded up yet. It might be loading up. I don't know when it's loading up. So many interviews I do. But I'll figure it out, and then I'll I'll message you that video's up, and then I'll kind of break down so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to, where it is in that video. So you can just kind of fast forward straight to that point, and you can see what that guy bought, because I don't know exactly what it is besides it's just a road paver, and he talks all about it. So he knows a lot more than I do, and it might be the time era that you need. It might not. I don't know.
Right.
But it was definitely neat. I mean, the fact that you're bringing that up, and this guy just talked about it. So, yeah, I'll let you know, because I don't know who it was that told me, and that person's gonna watch this and be like, "God, this guy's memory is shit."
That happens with old age.
Yeah, well, I'm 41. I shouldn't have this bad of memory, but if it's not related to classic cars in my specific life, or my personal life, I don't remember much.
Right, yeah.
Especially that. I talk to so many people, and they come and go, so I can't remember everybody off the top of my head. A lot of times I even forget their name right in the beginning of the podcast. So I'll talk to them like I did with you before I start recording, and then right when I hit record, I've already lost their name. So yeah, talk about how bad that memory is. But that's pretty cool, man. Do you plan on I know you got a lot of work and you got a lot of projects, and do you plan on building like little tiny dioramas for your vehicles?
I've got one built right now that I use just for taking photos. I would like to one of these days, possibly, and then I've been wanting to build. If you go down to Kansas City, they used to have a company. It's called Fleet Body and Equipment, and they built maintenance way trucks. And it's right by the Missouri River. So you've got, if you look at this building, you've got the fenced in lot, you've got the building. There was always maintenance way trucks all the way around it, and then up the hill was always the Burlington Northern line, which it's BNSF now. But you could see the trains in the background, and then that building. Then on the other side of it was the downtown Kansas City airport. So I've always kind of wanted to build that in a modular just to display my trucks, but I haven't got around to it. I've got the building bought, if that counts.
Well, you started, so that's better than not having it at all.
Right.
So it's so funny. It's not even, I don't know if it's funny. It's more crazy, more weird, or more interesting. The trains, I guess if I were to model a train of any kind, it'd probably be Union Pacific, and it's only because I lived right behind, and when I say behind, probably a half a mile. No, not even that. A quarter of a mile. I lived behind a quarter of a mile from a train track, the Union Pacific. And we lived in the middle of this block, which was about a mile long. Nope, not even a mile. Say 3/4 of a mile long. And on this side of the road, there was a train rail crossing, and on this side of the road there was a rail crossing, and we lived in the middle, a quarter of a mile behind the train track. So there was 4 sets of tracks back there that were running 4 trains every 20 minutes.
See,
and you would hear it's horrible when you first move in and don't realize it, because it's all day, all night. And when they lay on that horn from the first track, they lay it to the next track. They don't even let off of it.
Yeah.
And every 20 minutes, you hear trains going by 24 hours a day. It gets so crazy ridiculous when you don't realize where you just moved to. But then you get used to it and you don't hear it at all.
Right.
But I think I would probably model a train set of Union Pacific and do today, like present time, just because of my hot rods are present time hot rods you'd see at a car show, but present time. But my real like the passion of trains that I barely have, but it takes over most of my train love, is like steam engine era. So I'd have like a lot of steam engine Union Pacific that would do like excursion trains and stuff. Like, because I just like steam engine, but it has to be still in present day. So that's the only reason why steam engines are ever run, is unless you have like some kind of mountain-esque area that they do steam engine excursions. But yeah, I think I would model that if I were to model a train at all. Yeah,
that's definitely an interesting time. It wasn't too far from here in Missouri. They had set up, because they knew the Union Pacific steam train was coming through, and it was some small town had actually set up and got some old cars from the town and set them at the railroad crossing, and then had a professional photographer come in, and when they ran the steam train through, they took pictures of it and made them black and white. It looked just like you walked out of the 40s.
So, no kidding. I don't know what kind of a steam engine this was, but I feel in my head it had 5 big wheels running the train. So it was like a 410, maybe 4 or maybe 2, 410 2, maybe 410 5 or 410 4. I don't know. And I don't know what brand of train it was. I don't know if it was Union Pacific. I'm guessing it was Union Pacific because it came behind our house. And me and my mom are sitting in the house, and we hear a steam horn, which is completely different from a diesel horn.
It'll get your attention, yes.
Yeah, and I looked up, and I ran to the back of the door, because we kind of had a house that was like a shotgun house, where the front door you can see all the way to the back door.
Yep.
And I looked out the back door, and I see this black smoke. I'm like, Mom, let's go. We're going to chase this train down. And by the time, like, the train track ran parallel to a freeway, but far enough away that you couldn't see the track at all. You couldn't see the train. So all I had to go by was like black smoke on my left side. So I hopped in my car, and at the time I had a 63 Impala station wagon, all white, looked for the most part stock, I guess. And it took us 10 miles to catch that train and figure out that it actually stopped to get water. And so we got off the freeway and parked probably 20 feet from the track in an area we weren't supposed to go to. And we were probably, no kidding, a half a mile maybe from where the train was filling up. And that thing, when it started going, it must have hit it in full gear, because by the time it got to us, it was probably doing 45 to 55 miles an hour, or 45 to 50 miles an hour within that half a mile. And I was completely amazed by that. But I took a bunch of black and white photos with my car as it was passing.
Yeah.
So I have that to go with my memories, because I don't know where those pictures are anymore. But I remember that. And it was so neat. But it's funny, for the Bush Clinton inauguration that was happening in LA, there was something happening in LA for that inauguration. They had the Challenger come down from wherever it was coming from to the LA train station. And I actually followed that, because I heard it was being stored up in this desert city in the deserts of California. So I got up like 4 o'clock in the morning, got to it by 6 in the morning when it was about to leave. I was able to see it going through the switch tracks, doing its articulation and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then me and a friend followed it all the way about, I'd say 20 miles from LA, because I ran out of gas and I had to stop and get gas. And by that time, I don't know where the train track was going. And this was like right before internet. So it was all hearsay that this was happening. And we were taking the chance of going up to this desert city 2 hours away to hope that it was there. And it ended up being there. So it was pretty good. But after that train went, it's like the people that own that track had no clue how big and heavy that train was, because it ruined the track as it went through it, and they had to fix all the track that it ended up going through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they underestimated. I remember the news had a big, huge thing on it saying, yeah, you're not going to be, you'll have a little bit of quiet downtime from the trains running on this particular track, because the tracks got messed up from this special inauguration event that LA was having.
But it was worth it, right?
You know what? Watching it go, my friend was hanging out the window with this VHS recorder, not the like 80s style, but like a compact VHS style, which is a little bit, probably the size of a VHS cassette. And he was filming it, hanging out the window. And I was, I think, 19 or 20. He was like, dude, you can drive with me hanging out the window, right? You're not going to kill me. You're a young kid. I don't want to die filming this. I got it. Don't worry. I love cars. I'm a car guy. I know how to drive. Okay. I won't kill you. Now, if I was hanging out the window, I wouldn't trust you neither. So I get what you're saying, but I'll drive. You hang out the window, get the perfect shot. Man, there must have been 200 cars following this train all the way from the high desert to LA. And sometimes we were going in and out of traffic to get in front, and other people were cutting in front. It was something to see. If anybody listening or anybody ever has a chance to follow a steam engine, just follow it. Watch where it's going.
It is crazy too.
Yeah, because just watching the engine moving and all the parts, it's something to see, and all the smoke.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth seeing. It's one thing to see it in pictures. It's one thing to model in a model railroad, but to see a real life steam engine and actually following it for a couple miles, oh man.
I remember years ago when I was doing the train derailment work, we've got a town on the Kansas side. It's Atchison, Kansas, and they've got a real tight hairpin curve. And Union Pacific was running the Challenger through there. It was, I think, the one and only time they ever did it, because it's too big of a locomotive for the curve that they got. But they dispatched us out, and they wanted us there to be on scene, ready to go in case that thing derailed in that curve. So we got there, and people at that time, you're talking 2 hours before this thing shows up, and people were already starting to gather. Here we come with the big rigs trying to get in there and having to move people so we can get back and get set up, and got all the equipment set up and everything. And these 4 guys show up in a pickup truck and buckets of grease, and they got their brushes and they're greasing the curve of this railroad track to get this steam locomotive through.
Oh, wow.
And they're making bets on if this thing is even going to make it without derailing. So, we're sitting there, we got everything set up, and we ended up helping them grease the curve. So, we're out there with buckets with them and wiping this grease down. And finally, the train comes through and they slow this thing down. And to be that close to it, and this thing runs and it lives, and, it's just humongous. And they're taking it just super slow, and you can hear the rails squeal and pop and make all this noise. And they got it through there. And they didn't derail. They got it through there and, took off and got out of town. But, man, that was pretty cool to see and be that close to it.
Yeah, because those running wheels are bigger than you.
Oh, they're huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So to see something that big and that heavy, that's slow too.
Speak of heavy, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the vibration of the ground, how heavy that thing is.
Oh, yeah. Well, just like that engine I told you was getting water. When it got up to like 50 miles an hour where we were standing, it felt like a mini earthquake starting to rumble. And then by the time it got to us, oh man, I wouldn't say my car was shaking, but you could feel the ground just rumble violently.
Yep.
And here's what's crazy. Like, you once in a while will see maybe on Facebook or maybe in old VHS videos at a train show or something of like the granddad taking the little 4-year-old or 5-year-old to the tracks to watch a steam engine going, and they're only maybe 5 feet from the track. And you're thinking, how are you standing that close? I know you feel this thing coming close to you. It's scary. So how are you that close? But you see that every once in a while, like in a black and white photo or an old timey like 1940s, 50s photo or video or something. You're like,
Yep.
God, you guys are so brave, because that thing looks like it's flying and you ain't moving.
Yeah, it's so funny. I've done enough derailment work that even when I'm the first person in line at a railroad crossing, I stay way back. I've seen them derail and take out a lot of stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's how many derailments have you seen where they've actually like hit a car and it made them derail?
No cars, like but I have seen trucks. I've seen plenty of trucks. Oh man, probably the worst one was a truckload of cattle.
Oh man, I don't even want to get into detail about that. That's
exactly.
Crazy. This is what's even more crazy, and this is for you commercial truck builders that love building diesel trucks and probably drive diesel trucks, and that's probably where you get the love from. I don't drive diesel trucks, but it seems crazy that you have this truck with this trailer that's however long a trailer is, a normal trailer, but then you're going to go over a railroad crossing that's got a hump. And for some reason, your brain says this hump isn't that big. And then you get stuck and you can't get out of it.
Right.
Like it always makes me wonder, like, what was that guy thinking when he went over that? He knows the trailer he's pulling. The trailer doesn't have a hydraulic lift system to raise it to get out of, steep humps. So why would you have gone over that?
I know you wouldn't believe how many times it's for them. It's either one, they're brainless, or two, they're in a hurry. Low boys are the worst by far.
Yeah, well, they got
to ground them. But a lot of your low boy drivers have got it down to a system to where speed, and they know that trailer is going to bottom out. But if they got enough speed going, they can get over it.
Well, mostly what I see is the train track is right before or after a stoplight or stop sign. Yeah. So you have to stop. You're not going through it without stopping if it's red or if it's a stop sign. So in your mind, like, you got to stop. You're not going to catch that green light and be lucky. So why tempt it?
And it's amazing how many videos are out there of just trains hitting trucks. Amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. Do you ever get to drive those trucks that have the trade wheels on them to drive on the tracks?
When I worked for RJ Corn, we had them, but I guess I wasn't lucky enough to drive one. We had a dump truck that was high rail, but I'd never been in it. And I've drove it around the lot, but I've just never been in it on the rail. I don't know. I guess I was the lucky person to load it, because we did some flood damage, where they was just loading it up with gravel and then back it up and dump it. So, I guess I was always the guy that got lucky enough to load it.
Yeah. It seems like it would be fun, because I don't think you have to worry about steering it, because the front train wheels, like the rear wheels move the car because it's probably a pickup truck and it's got rear wheel drive or whatever, but I don't think you have to steer it. And if you did steer it, I don't know if it'd even make a difference.
Well, and on your larger trucks, your front wheels are up off the rails because they're not engaged with it.
Right.
Yeah,
it seems like it could be fun.
Yeah.
Like I watch every once in a while that Alaskan train show that's on TV.
I've seen it a few times, yeah.
Yeah, and they do a lot of the show has to do with the people going ahead of the train to make sure there's no snow or make sure the rocks aren't on the track or whatever, and they're driving those trucks or whatever that have the train wheels, and it seems like that might be fun.
I've seen that show, and what I always got a kick out of was kind of like the Home Depot plywood delivery truck by rail. Delivered plywood to people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would never want to live up there, especially in a rural area that you have to live that way. But at the same time, maybe just living where I live and having to deal with, trucks or cars that can run on the train track, that might be neat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just make sure you get out of the way of the train, because I don't think they're going to stop for you.
No. Years ago when we was running the tow trucks. We had tow trucks there at the body shop. We got called out for an accident. That's all they said, an accident involving a train. We had got out there, and what had happened was they had a high rail truck that was going down the rails, and guy coming around the corner and looked up, and here's a train coming at him at track speed, which I think was 50 mile an hour at that time. So he bails out of the truck. The train hits the truck, knocks it clear across 2 lanes of the road and damn near into a lake on the other side of the road.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in radio contact with, if you're on the track,
right,
you're supposed to know what's coming ahead of you or behind you.
Well, you wouldn't believe how many times, we've done derailments before where the rats had eaten into the wiring and gave an engineer the wrong signal, and he runs what's supposed to be a red light, which is green at the time. And there's all kinds of stuff that happened in the real world.
Wow, I never even thought of that. Jeez. I honestly did think as a younger person that I had always wanted to be a train driver, like an engineer. But my brain is always thinking, I want to be a steam engineer. I don't want to be a diesel engineer. Yeah. Diesel engineers, you're not doing nothing but sitting and making sure the electronics are doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And in a steam one, that's real work. That's a man's job right there. You're either pushing coal, you're turning the knobs, you're heading your head out the window in any temperature. And a diesel engine, you're not really doing any of that. No. So my brain is always like, I want to be a train engineer when I grow up, but knowing that it's like the top of the top people in that field that can even step onto a steam engine if it gets restored or whatever. Yeah, I'd probably never be able to do that. And I figured I'd just be wasting my time because I don't want to just sit in a chair and push buttons to make the train move. I want to actually do stuff.
Right.
At the same time, it would be still neat just to maybe, I know in that Alaska train show, they have 3 people in the cockpit or the engineer's cab of the train, like 2, I don't know what the 2 people in the front do, just push buttons all day. And then there's a 3rd person that sits in the back. I don't know what that person's supposed to do, but I don't mind just being that 3rd person doing nothing.
Well, see, it used to be your engineer, your conductor, and then a brakeman.
Oh, okay.
Which for years it was, I guess, brakeman, fireman on a steam locomotive.
Yeah, they would sit in the caboose, right? Like overlooking, make sure the train wasn't on fire or still connected or whatever.
Well, you'd have another conductor in the caboose. You had one in the locomotive and one in the caboose. Or brakeman.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Just you overlooking the rest of the train, making sure it's going right.
Yeah,
and it's all up to you if it ain't. Right.
If you don't end up falling asleep.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing. The idea of being a train engineer seems like fun, but I had recently heard one of my news channels, this was a couple years ago. Nope, I'm talking about diesel trucks. My bad. I don't know nothing about trains. I thought it was the train story, but it's not a train story. But the diesel truck world got turned upside down when they started slashing the prices of like how long you can drive for and how long you can be awake for and how long this and that and what you're getting paid for.
Yeah.
Turn the trucking world upside down almost.
Well, that's me right now because I carry a CDL. I'm, operator, but I drive my own truck and I'm allowed 12 hours a day, which a lot of times doesn't happen. End up over 12.
Yeah, and so you're working it but not getting paid for it, right?
Well, I still get paid for it.
Oh, okay.
I gotta go and I gotta explain why I went over 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
I'm allowed 14, but they don't want you to go over 12 because they would rather have a little bit of, buffer zone.
Yeah, well, I think that's the same in the bus world. I think, but a while ago, like you can probably drive, say 16 hours and then pull at a truck stop and go to sleep, like with the tour buses that take you to like a casino or something from whatever state you're in. But I think nowadays it's along the same lines as you, where they're only allowed to drive for so long before they have to take a break. Yeah, for so long, and then they get back in.
It's crazy though, because we live 16 hours from Galveston, Texas, and we love going down to Galveston, Texas, and I can drive that 16 hours in one shot with maybe 2 stops.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll do the whole 16-hour trip.
Wow. I can't go down to Florida to Orlando without stopping at least 4 times to go pee. And that's only like 10 and a half hours from me.
Right. And actually, I think we make a game out of it. It says it's a 16-hour trip, but I think we've made it in 13 before.
That's pretty good. I know going to St. Louis from my house in North Carolina, it's 12 and a half to 13 hours. And that's with however many stops we need to stop to go pee and eat or whatever.
Right.
When we went up to Massachusetts to the Amherst show last year, in the beginning of the year before the pandemic hit, it was like 14 and a half hours. And we stopped, I don't know how many times, but I wonder how long it would take you if I just had a bucket in the car and pissed in it while I was driving.
Straight through, yeah.
Yeah, or just, I don't want to ever have to do this, but if I get old enough and I have to put a catheter in myself, just put a catheter while you drive, and then
right, yeah.
Just
stick the
just have
a hole in the floor.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but yeah, I also thought though too when I moved out here to North Carolina from California, I thought maybe I should go into truck driving because I like to drive. For one, I like to see the country, and I would want to be a cross-country truck driver.
Yeah.
To see the states and to see the, things that this country has to offer that you may not just normally go to anyways. So if you had a reason to go because you were delivering something, perfect. I thought about doing that. And then I thought I'd want my family to come with me. 2 kids, a wife. I don't think they're going to want to sit in the truck the whole time riding in it.
And then keep a kid occupied.
Right. Yeah, that was the biggest downfall is I was such a family guy and I loved my kids as they were little. I didn't want to be away from them that long. But at the same time, I love being able to see the country and what it has to offer. And now I guess I'll just pick the family.
Yeah, right. See, we got 1 kid left. So after that kid moves out, we're going to see a little bit more of the country.
Nice. Yeah, we had this thing. We live, my in-laws and us. We moved in together when we moved out here. The thing is we moved to North Carolina. They're going to help us buy a house, like a really nice house. So we got this really nice house, and when we were financially set to take over, they would go buy a Winnebago, travel the country, and go all these casinos. Well, within that time, we were able to take over. They got older and their health started failing, and now we've turned into like a nursing home. And I don't want to say we're stuck with them because they got us this really nice house, but at the same time, man, it would be nice just to be the 4 of my person family and not have nothing else to worry about. But
yeah,
hey, can't bite the hand that feeds you, I guess,
That is true. Yeah, I've done quite a bit of the Route 66 trip, and I'd like to do it all one of these days from Indiana.
Really neat. Yeah. I know that I watched this documentary about the Route 66 a couple years ago, and I know it's not all together. There's parts of it where you have to take the freeway because the road's destroyed. But I mean, even if you could get like an off-road 4x4 pickup truck just to travel the dirt road that may not be listed on the route of 66 anymore, I think that would be still neat to see the original, even if it may be completely tattered and worn out and pretty much gone, just to know that used to run right where I'm on right now.
Yep.
But that was when we went to the high desert and we were following that steam engine. We took Route 66 because it followed the train track for probably 3/4 of our travel when we were following.
Oh, okay.
So all my life I lived in Southern California, except for up to 13 years ago, and never did I take Route 66 through the high desert. We always just took the freeway because it was the fastest route. And that was the first time I ever did. And I was like, this is such a neat road.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how have I never taken this road? As much as I love cars and I love the history of our country growing up with cars and Route 66 being so famous and, infamous, how have I never taken this road here?
Yeah, because Route 66 through California and Arizona is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. Um, and if I can get a chance, I think the ultimate way to see it would just be in a classic car.
Oh, yeah.
Classic car with air conditioning, preferably. But
well, see, my Model A has air conditioning, but the Nova doesn't.
Yeah, the Nova probably runs a little smoother and a little bit faster than that Model A, maybe.
Well, now the Model A is pretty fast. Actually, I think it might be faster than the Nova.
Well, it's lighter, so I
Yeah,
guess it's got
yeah.
the same size engine.
Yeah, running a
And
small
it's got
block
a-
Chevy in it.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, that's cool. It's funny that the Model A's got the air conditioning and the Nova
I
doesn't.
know, right?
But hey, you gotta have your priorities, and if you're gonna have a hot rod, you might as well have a nice one.
That is true. That is true.
That's cool. You ever what kind of area your model railroading are you modeling? Are you modeling where you live? Are you
For the most part, yes.
so you're never gonna have a Route 66 on there, huh?
No, and unfortunately, no. I've always liked the Kansas City area, just for the size of it, the railroads that came in and out. Because I mean, they, at one time they had quite a few railroads going in and out of Kansas City. So that's where my main focus is going to be, and then it'll branch out to Burlington Northern, going through St. Joe, going up to Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's cool.
Yeah, with the big bridges going over the Missouri River.
I never even thought about this until I just started talking to you about Route 66, and how I never thought about it, I don't know. But I got my workshop module right here. My this is 1, 2, 3. This would be the 4th incarnation of my workshop, my Halfass custom car shop. And as you can see in the front, it's sort of sandy and dirty and weeds and stuff all over the place, but it's supposed to be based somewhere deserty, somewhere California-ish deserty. And I've got this 2-lane road up there, and that would be perfect to put those Route 66 stamps that they lay on Route 66 to let you
Absolutely,
know
it would. Yeah,
I never even thought
cool.
about that. God, see, it's a good thing I'm talking to you, because now I have something to add on to this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that would be the best, to have a custom car shop right off of Route 66. Especially in real life, it would be too.
Yep, yeah. And I still need to, I want to find a couple of trucks. I want to have you build her Bell telephone truck. I need to find me a couple of trucks that'll fit close to that.
Yeah. And build it like how she has it, or do you guys even I think she sent me pictures a while ago, like when I first met you guys.
Do both. I want to do how it is now, and then the way she does want it eventually.
Yeah, man. Anytime you ever find it, or anytime you want me to build it, or whatever, I'm down. Because I remember talking about it, or talking about building her some kind of truck back when we first met, but it never happened. So
and you gave her that one. Yeah, you gave her that one. I think it was a Cadillac, and she absolutely loves that thing. It's sitting in the display case still.
Yeah, that was my favorite Cadillac. It was my first custom Cadillac. But I mean, you get a lady that likes cars. How can you say no to that?
That is true. That is true.
So it's not very commonplace to have a lady like hot rods and customs. So you kind of just got to give them what they want.
Yeah.
If they're into it that much, then yeah, they deserve it.
I never will forget when we was going to look at this truck, and the guy had already told me, he goes, it's an old Bell telephone truck. So he goes, it's got the equipment box on the back of it. And I told her, I said, it's no big deal. I said, if you don't like the telephone box, I said, we can find a pickup bed to fit, no big deal. And she walked around the corner and seen that truck, and it was love at first sight. She goes, oh no. She goes, that's going home, and it's going to stay exactly the way it is.
That is too cool. That is way too cool. I love that story. I love that you got a wife that likes cars. My wife doesn't really care about cars, but she cares about me, so that's good enough, I guess.
That's good, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's cool to hit every bell, but if you can only hit some, it's better than none.
Yeah.
But yeah, her dream car was a 1986, 87 Honda CRX, the little square hatchback kind.
Okay, yep.
And at that time, they only made stick shifts, and the more expensive version were the automatic, so there weren't as many as those out there. My wife doesn't know how to drive stick. So I find her that car, and I buy it for. It takes me 6 months to buy this from a guy I was working with, and I gave him payments, all secretly, so the wife didn't know. And I pull up to the house with it one day, and she goes, "Oh, that is such a cool car. I love this car." And I was like, "It's yours." She's like, "No way." So she gets in and it goes, "I don't know how to drive stick, right?" And I said, "I'm going to teach you." I get her into driving it. She gets into second gear. She comes to a stop, safely, and she's happy that she has it. And after she got to that point, getting it in the second gear, she goes, "I don't want this car. I don't want to drive stick." And I said, "But you got the second gear, though. It's only got 2 more." And then, she's like, "Yeah, it's too complicated. But you got the second gear." So I ended up driving it for like a couple months, and then I got rid of it too. But she had a passion for a certain car, and then when she got it, it was one of those. Well, probably like a lot of people's dream cars. You think you're never going to get it. So once you do, it's like, oh, what do I do with this now? I had that happen to me too, so I can't fault her. My dream car was a '64 Impala. Ever since I saw the first rap video of it bouncing in the air, I fell in love with a car that could jump. And I was like, that's the car. That's my pipe dream car. And then I ended up getting one. My parents bought me one, and I realized, yeah, every single person that has an Impala that lives anywhere near me has this car. I don't need something everybody has.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like anybody else that has a classic car. It'll look like theirs. And I'm like, I don't want this. So I ended up getting a station wagon. Back in the early 90s, nobody was rocking station wagons.
Yeah.
So I got a '63 Impala station wagon, and I love that car. I love that car today, and I don't even have it no more. I wish I still
there's
did.
A lot of good-looking wagons out there, and they're coming back strong.
Oh, super strong. And I think it was the movement that I started. I think I started the craze. Well, so I wanted to make a lowrider out of it, but I didn't have that kind of money. So then like 2002, 2003 hit, and the rat rod craze just blew up in Southern California, like overnight. And I went to a show where there's all these rat rods. Like every show I've ever been to was either a lowrider show where cars are completely done, or classic car shows where cars are completely done. Never have I ever gone to a car show where they were not even close to being done, but ran, and they loved it that way and just drove it. And I get to the show, and all these like primered hot rods are there, custom primered cars, nowhere close to being done, or some are half done, but they're just all in construction. I was like, dude, I could totally rock this look completely. Oh, yeah. So I primered the car the next weekend. It was gloss white from Earlshire. So I sanded it all down. I primered it, then taped off all the chrome and the stainless steel, and taped off the windows, and then spray can. I went to Walmart. It's not even primer. I went to Walmart and bought 99-cent flat black spray paint, 30 cans of it, and I sprayed the whole car. I used up like 25 cans to spray the whole car. And then I took the tape off, and I was like, oh, this is badass. It's got that rat rod look. And then I think 2 weeks after that, I taped the whole car and then outlined flames, cut out the flames, and then sprayed hot rod flames all over it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I found a guy that was selling a set of classic like bias ply white walls. I think for like $50, he was getting radios on them, and he didn't need these anymore. So he was like, just give me whatever. They're old, they're original, they don't drive right. I was like, I want them. I don't care how they feel. So I slapped some fat white walls on that, and they had that 60s rat rod look, and I was in love with it. Well, and I sold it.
We went to the lumber, and one nice thing about the rat rods is they're drivable. You don't have to worry about the.
They may not be safe drivable.
Yeah,
right. But they're drivable.
Yeah. Well, we went to the lumber yard there the other night, and I was sitting in the passenger seat. The wife was driving, and I just happened to see something over the next row over. I'm like, she started to park, and I was like, no, keep going. And so she pulls up to the next one, and there was a 41 Chevy Coupe sitting there. And it's slammed on the ground. This thing is sitting on the frame.
Oh, the best
And I'm
way.
like, black in the original black paint, a little bit of rust in the bottom of fenders and the doors and stuff like that. I was like, oh man, that is so nice. So I get out and I'm looking at it. And then of course I look over and, out comes this tattooed guy, and it's like, okay, there's the owner,
Right.
we got to talking about cars and, we started to go inside and it's like, I stopped him. I turned around and, I told her, I said, watch this. And, he fires it up, starts it up. And he hits there, to get the thing up off the ground. It's like, oh man, that thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
Just a perfect driver.
And it's so funny because what I build a lot of these customs and these hot rods that are slammed on the ground like that, because most of the cars are meant to look like they're parked, not as they're driving.
Right.
And when I first started building in this scale and posting it on our little group, Facebook groups, everybody was like, oh, that's so cool, but it's not drivable. And I'm thinking in my head, God damn it, people, really? I mean, obviously, if it's sitting that low, it has to get that low. You don't just park it there. And it's got to have hydraulics or on air. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, really, though, you and I would know that. But how many people, at per se a train show would know that,
And that's the exact perfect answer to that, because I'm coming from a car show mentality vibe where I get it because I'm a car guy, and I'm thinking people that build model cars, whether them be trucks, whether them be commercial construction, whether whatever, they build it because they like automobiles or they wouldn't be building it. So my brain is thinking, well, everybody should already know this. It's 2000 whatever. If you don't know, the way you get a car lane frame is with an air ride system or hydraulics. Where have you been your whole life?
Oh yeah. Well, some people don't know about Z frames or tubbed or all
really
those big fancy words.
I mean, they know now because it seems to be that's all I build, unless I'm building a movie car. It's a custom slammed car sitting on the ground for the most part. So I think with me saying enough that's why it looks this way, because you obviously hit the switch and lower it. I think they get it now. But yeah, when I first started, I'm coming from that model car world where everybody in the model car world is a classic car person, so they already know.
Right.
So I'm thinking naturally these people should know, but no, they definitely didn't.
Yeah, see, I've always wanted, my dream car would be a 37 Lincoln Zephyr. And, you would have to put that car on air because when you park it, you want it on the ground.
It's a must. I mean, it doesn't look good stock height. You couldn't even drive it at the stock height. You'd have to drive it just a few inches off the ground. Yeah. Because it just has to have that low and sinister look. And a Zephyr definitely has a sinister look straight out the gate.
Oh, absolutely.
Even stock, it has a sinister look.
Yeah.
With that crazy grill, that Lincoln grill is just iconic in every way. Yeah.
One of these days, if I hit the lottery, I'll buy me one. That's going to be about the only way.
I think that's the only way most of us are going to get our dream cars anymore. I mean, even the Impalas, like I'm constantly up on the date with Impalas, and man, the wagon I bought 25 years ago for $2,000 driving, just needed a tune-up and everything else, is going for like $10,000 to $15,000 now.
Yep.
And I can't afford that.
But what's funny though is if you look at the price of cars now, I mean, I love the 30s and 40s stuff. So I'm always looking at the prices. And I mean, you can buy you a nice one from 20 to 30,000, complete, done, ready to go. You don't have to touch a thing.
Same thing with the lowrider world. I'm always looking at lowriders. I love lowriders, and I see the prices of fully done lowriders, not like these over-the-top wild with the craziest paint jobs, just a stock body with a hydraulic system and the lowrider wheels. But for the most part, the car's stock besides that stuff. And, they're going for 20 to 30,000. And I'm thinking, that's not bad, really, but I still can't afford it. But it's not a bad price. I mean, the car is really nice. It's a driver. It's not a show winner, but it's a driver. And that's really all I'm looking for. I don't need to pull up to a show and win all the awards because that's going way over and above. I just need to be able to drive it, enjoy being in it, and having it look the way I want it. But totally be in love with just how basic and plain it is, because you can still drive it. It doesn't have to be trailered everywhere.
Exactly.
That is funny, because even though I like that plain stuff in a driver vehicle, I'm building these wild hot rods and custom lowriders that would probably be trailered everywhere.
Right.
But that's like my thing. I said in a couple episodes, I'm like, I want to do eye candy. I want you to see this. I want it to pop so bright and so shiny and so crazy that it blows your mind that can actually be done in this scale. That's amazing. And I think I've done it for the most part.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And I've seen your work, and I really didn't know you until the RPM meet, but it's, I'm known for the maintenance way trucks. So, I show up with hot rods, and I think that was kind of weird. A lot of people wasn't ready for that, but I like the LTL freight trucks and the hot rods, but I don't have as many hot rods as I think I should have. I
definitely need more.
Yeah, I do. Because I plan on having a couple of drive-ins on my layout. I've got the Mel's drive-in.
Perfect.
But you got to have hot rods around that stuff. So I need to build more.
And besides certain little tiny towns or certain cities and parts of this country, most cities and most little towns have a small car culture in it. I mean, right. I know my state, compared to California, my state is probably in the classic car world. It's probably 10% of this state is classic car people, which is crazy because we're huge with NASCAR. But it's so small and so minuscule, it upsets me every time I go to a car show. Because you could have a car cruise in Southern California and have 500 to 1,000 cars show up for a car cruise, not even a show. Out here, there's maybe 200. And, even though that's a lot, it's not nearly as much as I'm used to or I would wish to be there. Because you could walk through 200 cars within a half hour and you're done seeing them all. I mean, you're not going to look at each one with a fine-tooth comb, especially if it's not something you're into. You're going to look at the few that are there that you're totally into, and you're like, oh, this is badass. The rest are just going to be there, and you'll appreciate what it is and keep walking. But yeah, you're not going to look at every single car and want to, fine-tooth, inspect it or nothing. Right. So you can walk through a 200 car show real quick if there's not much there that you really care to look at. But if you have 1,000 cars there, there's going to be at least 15 to 20% of those 1,000 that you're going to be totally into, like drooling.
Yeah. Every once in a while we go up to Des Moines, Iowa, and they have the Good Guys car show up there. And I mean, I'm just guessing probably 3,000, 4,000 cars up there. That's hard to walk in one day.
Yeah. No, that's a decent sized show for a car show. And for it to kind of be, not in the hugest of cities. It's this pretty well-known city, but it's not one of, it's not a Chicago. It's not a Southern California, which is just one big city, really, and it's relatively small compared to just huge cities that have huge, 5,000 to 10,000 car shows or whatever. Like Hershey, I think it's Hershey, Pennsylvania is the biggest car show in the whole entire world.
That one's on my bucket list.
That's my bucket list too.
Yeah.
I would love to. They say you can't even take a full 5-day week if you looked at everything and be able to finish it. Like if you stopped at every vendor and you stopped at every car and looked at it for just a few seconds, even a full 5-day week, you wouldn't be able to get through that whole show.
Yeah, I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, me too. I watch videos of them just pulling out, and you could watch a half-hour long YouTube video of probably 400, 500, 600 cars just pulling out, and all of them are classic cars. Not one is a new car. And you're like, just that alone is the perfect heaven any car guy could like die and just be happy with.
Well, just I remember on the edge of the road. The street rod club that we have here in St. Joe, and this is years ago when my dad was still alive, when he still had the body shop going, we had a pull behind trailer and, to put the stuff in to go down to Oklahoma City. And the sides they made it to where the sides would fold down on it and you could fit about 6 people on there. And we would go cruise around the fairgrounds with pulling the trailer and people riding on the trailer just to go see the cars.
That's cool. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, we have a Good Guys show out here, and before it was only in the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then they moved it to the capital city, which is Raleigh, which is 2.5 hours away. So I live only 40 minutes from Raleigh, which is really nice. I go to that show, and I think they only allow like 2,500 cars, which is still a lot of cars. But there's so many cars I just walk completely right by because, like, I just don't care. And
Right.
the cars that totally pop out, I will stop and I'll just drool over and I'll like take as many pictures, and I'm like, this is what I'm here to see. But North Carolina, I would say for that Good Guys show, people come from South Carolina and Virginia, maybe some from Tennessee, but that's a long drive just for a 2-day show. And it ends on Sunday. I mean, people go home on Sunday, and so it's really just Friday night and then Saturday.
Well, and then if it's a Good Guys show on Sunday, they let all the newer cars in too.
I don't know. I've always been working on Sunday, so I've never gone on Sunday. I just know it's not nearly as big as it is on Saturday.
Right.
So to have people come from that far away seems like a little much, but I'm not really a muscle car guy. I like 65 and older. After that, I just appreciate for what they are. I'm not 100% into them. I know, like, you know, you got the bigger horsepower engines, and I love the big engine power that came out of that time period, but just give me the engine and dump the car. I don't care about a 69 Camaro. That does nothing for me. Give me the engine out of that and put into your little hot rod. I'm all over that.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, I've got that 68 Nova, and I bought it cheap enough, and that was the only reason I bought it. But, you know, I love driving the car. I love the car, but I just, you know, my heart is with the 30s and 40s stuff.
Yeah. Well, I love that stuff too. I absolutely love that stuff. Another pipe dream of mine would be to get like a 1927 and 1932 Ford sedan, chop it like 5.5 to 6 inches, channel it, Z the frame in the back, put a Hemi engine in it, and fat white walls all down the side, and then just done. Yes. I don't even need the wood slats in the roof. I don't need any of that. I just
leave the roof
chop the body and channel it over the frame, and I'll be happy. I don't care if it rides like absolute crap. I'll be happy with the look, and I'll figure out eventually, if I can get that far, I can go a step further to down the line, figure out how to make it ride better. Right. But if you give me something that has the look I'm going for and has the attitude and the style, dude, I'll drive the crap out of that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. See, 37 seems to be my year, whether it's a 37 Lincoln Zephyr, a 37 Chevy, 37 Ford. I like that year.
That is a really nice body style, though. So I'm with you on that. I like it. And it's the perfect gangster mobster mobile, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you got them side rails on there that you can stand and hold on to the door with a Tommy gun and a zoot suit. You're already with it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's perfect for that. And those are cool cars. I recently, what was that movie called? I recently watched a movie. I can't say recently, probably a year ago. Watched a movie called The Highwaymen.
Oh yeah, I watched it.
That was a good movie, and I love that car. And they explained in the movie, which movies never do. They explained in the movie what made that car significant to Bonnie Clyde, them two. And then the fact that the ex-sheriff Kevin Costner ended up having the same car, so he was able to catch up and stay up with those guys. Like, that was just, I want to say it was 100% true, but maybe it wasn't 100% true. I don't know. But just to have the sheriff that hunted them down have the same year car, so he was able to keep up with them if they tried to run off. That was
Henry Ford's V8.
Yeah. And it was great because that's such a perfect looking car. I love that 33 Ford. Is a beautiful car. I like that grill. I like it chopped. I like it channeled.
Well, come on, the ZZ Top car.
I don't even need a ZZ Top. You can give me the spoked wheels with the spoked rims with the white wall and just drop it and channel it and chop it, man, that is a sweet looking car. But yeah, you can't get more cooler than Eliminator. That's why I had to build
what? I've got quite a few of the solvent kits, the 34 Fords, and I have yet to put them together. But I've got a coupe, I've got the 2-door sedan, and one of these days I'll get to it.
Yeah. Well, hey, as long as you're still alive, then you'll have the time. As long as you can still see.
Right.
Because I'll tell you what, building a car blind is pretty hard.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I don't have firsthand experience, but I can imagine too.
Although supposedly here in town we have a blind mechanic. I have yet to meet the guy, but that's just what I keep hearing.
My dad went to a local swap meet or a flea market, as you would say, and he met a guy that painted. He was blind, and he used his feet. I guess he maybe didn't have hands. I don't know. I didn't see the guy, but he got pretty famous in a small little market of the painting world for being blind and painting with his feet. And he painted cars. He painted them 2D, so they're flat side shot cars, or like front facing cars. But he painted with his feet, and he painted, no kidding, probably N scale size photos. So he'd have like a full garage full of like 7 cars all in a row. Yeah. And he was blind. So talk about super talented. He bought a painting for like $7 and said, "You like cars, you're going to get a kick out of this story." And he gave me the picture, and it's in my other room somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's just amazing. He painted with his feet, and they're N-scale cars, and they're pretty. You look at them, he doesn't have any labels of what car it is underneath, but you look at it and you know for the most part what it is. Like, oh, that's a early 60s Chevy, unless you know exactly what it is if you're a true car guy. You know that that's a 61 Chevy, or that's a 68 Barracuda, or that's a Lincoln Town Car, or whatever. I mean, he painted it so good that you know what it is by looking at it if you know cars.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could build models if you were blind. You just got to get really good at it. I don't know about if you want to build in this scale, though, because, imagine
that would be rough. That would be rough.
Trying to use your hands and your feet to find a lost piece. Oh, my gosh. No thanks.
You know how much stuff I have I drop on the floor and I can't find?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think we've all fallen into that problem. And I think this would be the coolest thing. I think I don't know how this could ever be possible, but if you worked in a completely white room with white floors, and then when you drop something, it stuck right where you dropped it, but the floor wasn't sticky, so you didn't stick to it while you were rolling around or walking on it.
Well,
you heard it drop, and then you see where it dropped, and you're like, there it is.
That wasn't too bad way back when the manufacturers used black plastic, but now everything's that light gray, and I don't even know if I'd see it on white.
Right, true. Yeah, maybe everything needs to be black or shiny with a light. That way, little beacon. When it hits the floor, it starts to blink, and you can find it real easy. But maybe that's the future of modeling. I don't know. Do you ever plan on getting a 3D printer to help your wants and desires out by?
I don't think I would have time for a 3D printer.
Well, as long as you had the design, you just put in your computer, send it to your 3D printer, go to work, and it'd be done when you got back.
That would be nice. If I don't know, if I could ever get to the point where I would trust myself with that much technology, I would love to. Dude, there's so much stuff I would love to 3D print.
Check this out. I've had this for over a year now. It's my 3D printer. That skull, which is a skull, came with the 3D printer just to show you what it could do. So I didn't print that. But this damn thing's been sitting right here for about a year, and I've had it for probably a year and a half, and I printed one thing with it, and I can't print anything else because the goddamn there's a bed that the printer prints on right here. It's like the floor of the printer,
right?
And I can't get it level. I've tried to get it level so many times. I even had Joseph Belivens come down here. I don't know if you remember him. He had that
Yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard
Yep.
bar. Yeah. So he came down to my house because he was working in the next state, and we couldn't even get it leveled, both of us. So I just said, screw it. I'm not using this. I got this big, huge thing sitting here for nothing. So I'm the same way, man. I can't figure out just probably the simplest thing with that. It's beyond my capability of figuring it out. So yeah, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like, I had that guy do the Holmes crane for me, the 60-ton re-rail crane, and did a great job on the design work and everything for it. But it's like, I don't even think I could possibly do that or have the time to do that. Because I remember sitting in a loader at work, emailing them, going, yeah, I like this, or no, this needs a little bit more work. And, the boss yelling at me to get off my phone and hurry up and do what I need to do, that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have to worry about that no more. I don't have no boss looking over my shoulder. It feels so good. I tell you, the day we have to go back, if my company ends up being as dumb as I feel they will, and have us all go back into that building, is going to be the worst day of my life. I'll literally want to quit my job. I get paid pretty decent money, but if my supervisor is going to look over my shoulder just to make sure I'm working and not doing anything like I normally do now, I'm going to hate life. I'm going to hate it. I mean, I can't take my models to work with me, and then I'll have him looking over my shoulder. Yeah. I have this position where everything is pretty much super simple, and I got that job in that position because I've been here long enough, so I know how to play the game. I know what position to look for to get paid a lot and not do a lot. And so if I have to go back to doing a lot or pretending to do a lot, I can pretend as good as I can, but I mean, I'd rather just not pretend at all. It's been a year that I've been home. I'm probably a little rusty. I don't want to pretend no more. I'm too old to care about that.
One of the insurance companies, I think it was American Family, they've got a big, huge complex here in this town. And when COVID hit, they sent everybody home and everybody started working from home. And now they have decided that it's cheaper and more efficient. People are getting more work done at home. So they're closing the office down. And now the city's talking about buying the office and making a high school out of it.
That's awesome. I wish my company would figure that out, because we have literally, I think, 1% or 2% of our work colleagues that do what I do have to still be in the building because they didn't qualify to work from home. And they shoved them all in one little area of the building, which they're still separated pretty well, but they're all in one area, and the rest of that building is vacant. They still have all the cubicles and all the desks, but nobody ever goes over there. So figure they're wasting so much money on electricity just to power that building alone. Just get rid of it. I mean, my department, my team that I work for, I work for Spectrum Cable, which was Time Warner Spectrum, or Charter Spectrum, which Charter bought out Time Warner. And then they brought out another cable company called Bright House, which is a small company. Anyways, we're now Spectrum. And they bought us out almost 3 years ago. And in this 3-year transition, I feel like they've done everything backwards. It's like, I don't understand how we're still in business, to be honest with you. But with that being said, they have so many buildings across our country that are filled with people normally that they could let go. And because of this transition, and we were working from home, my specific team of like 20 people ranked number 1 from last year to this year for our department in the whole company. And I sent an email out when they congratulated us over the company email. I replied to all, which is every single person in the company. That's because we're working from home. I hope you understand this. If we were working in the office, this wouldn't have happened. Right. So get a clue. Don't make me go back in there. But my wife works for the company too, and we work together on Wednesdays. And her department's already talking about figuring out how to get them back in there as soon as possible.
Mm.
And I'm still thinking, this is a mistake. Don't do it.
Mm.
There's so much wasted money there in that building just to have us drive 40 minutes to get there, just to sit in a stupid cubicle and do the same thing we're doing now.
Yep.
There's just no reason that we need to be there for. But, you know, it had to take this pandemic for some companies to figure that out.
Right.
And unfortunately, you work in a department, in a company, and what you do that you have to be on site for, you know, which
Yep.
isn't a bad thing. But at the same time, I have air conditioning every day, and I get up 5 minutes before I have to log into my computer.
Well, I do have air conditioning in the truck and the loader, so it ain't too bad.
That's good. And then you're independent once you're out driving to different locations too. I guess you don't have to worry about, you know, being logged onto the computer for 8 or 10 hours and making sure they're looking at what you're doing. I just like that they're not over my shoulder looking at what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I can wiggle my mouse around every 10 minutes so the computer don't shut down.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping they don't cancel the RPM meet this year.
Yeah, I was just talking to Mike over the instant messenger where we were talking earlier, and he said it's still on, and if they don't cancel it, I will let you know. So look forward to hopefully making some plans to come out here. And I said, if they have it, I probably will, because I haven't been to anything since the very beginning of last year.
Right.
So it's kind of getting old, not having nowhere to show off all the crap I'm still building.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really weird too, because the reason I started the podcast is to kind of get inside the head of the modeler, to see what feeds their feel to want to keep building or to even build what they build. And it amazes me to some point to hear why people are still building and what they're building. Because in these times, like, some people are going through such hard times, and it doesn't seem to really be affecting the model world, which is unbelievably crazy. Because think about, like, all the restaurants that have closed and now they're never going to reopen because they lost so much money because of the pandemic, and all this bad stuff, all the people that got laid off or fired or whatever, and the hobbies are thriving like crazy.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think it'd be much worse than what it is, but yeah, you're right. It seems like it's thriving.
Right. And I don't know about your state. Well, you're still in the country, so I guess it's affecting you too. I didn't see the second stimulus package. I heard it was out there, but I never saw it. It didn't come to my house. And now we're supposedly on the third one. I'm never going to see that either if I never saw the second one. I got the first one. I think everybody got the first one.
Yeah, everybody got the first one.
But I didn't see no second one, and I'm most likely not seeing a third one. So if I'm in that position, I'm assuming a lot of other people in that position too. If you don't have a job, you're not building anything, you're not making anything, the hobby isn't going for you, but for everybody else, it's still like thriving huge.
Yeah. Well, you know,
it's amazing.
Last year we worked so much that I think I made one car show, you know, the whole time, because we worked every Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah. We had, I think we went to, you know, our orientation to kick off the year. And they said last year we had 700,000 man hours, and the year before we had 400,000 man hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's almost double. Wait, you said 400 and 700?
Yep.
Yeah, that's almost double.
Yeah,
wow.
Almost double.
That's like working a 40-hour shift or a 40-hour week, and instead saying, no, I want to work at 80 and work.
Exactly. Sometimes it's fun though. You know, sometimes it's I don't mind. I like doing what I do. So yeah, it ain't too bad.
That's good that you like doing what you do. I hate doing what I do, even as easy and as simple and as basic as it is. And it is. It's so easy. A baby could do what I do if you just showed him how to do it. But I just don't like working for this company. And as much as I like getting paid decent money for doing what I'm doing, I just rather not do it at all and still get paid that same money somehow.
Right. Yeah, I don't like working in Kansas on windy, dusty days. That's all. I just don't want that.
I've never been to Kansas. Where's that how far is St. Louis from you guys?
I think we're 4
Because
hours.
Kansas is in Missouri, right? Kansas, Missouri.
Kansas, next state over. You got Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, so you're just like St. Louis, where it's St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis.
Exactly.
Yeah, the other state.
Well, see, and you know, Kansas City's right on the border, so I mean, it's just like St. Louis.
God, 4 hours away. That's nice. You could technically do that in a day if you truly wanted to have a long road trip.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I think when I come down to the RPM meet, I think we left town like 7 o'clock Saturday morning or Friday morning, I guess it was. And drove down there.
Nice, because Washington is 5 hours away from us, Washington, D.C., and we do that in a day, like every 3 years. Once every 3 years, we do that in a full day. So we 5 hours up, 5 hours back, and stay like 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours at the very most out there looking at the museums or whatever.
See, and I would love to do that. Just I don't want to go during a time that you know it's not crazy.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. Last year, we went out there out of a fluke. We left at like 9 o'clock in the morning. My mother-in-law was like, I just watched the news. The cherry blossoms are blooming. And I'm like, we live in North Carolina. We have cherry blossoms here. Like literally our neighborhood has cherry blossoms. We don't need to go to Washington to see the same tree. But she wanted to go see all the cherry blossoms. Well, sure enough, the news must have been a week behind because there wasn't nearly as many as there was on that segment. And so we drive 5 hours out there, spend 2.5 hours there, and then drive back. But that was, I think, in the springtime, and the pandemic had already hit. So there's nobody out there. I could park right on Museum Row, and I've never been able to do that. I was 10 minutes from the obelisk that's standing out there, the monument, and I've never been that close to it with my car. We're usually taking a subway train into there from another city because it's so damn crowded. It was nice though. I drove right by the Pentagon. Never seen that place with my own eyes except for on movies and TV. We drove right past. I was like, holy crap! There's like nobody on the freeway. It's so nice. It's a blast. But you know, everything's now starting to open, so it's starting to get more crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope that RPM meet goes on so we can see each other again, chat it up again. Maybe your wife will walk home with another one of my models. I don't know. But just to like be face to face and actually be able to see each other, talk to each other. It's cool we're doing this because I hadn't seen you since that last RPM meet that I saw you at.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool. I really enjoy this. I thank you for, wanting to do this finally. You had a downtime to do it.
Well, I send you pictures of stuff I work on every once in a while.
Yeah. But you're not sending a picture of you working on it. You're sending a picture of the product that you're working on. But I mean, it'd be cool just to, be face to face and in the same room and, just to kind of say, hey man, cool. Shake your hand or something if we're going to ever do that again.
Yeah.
So right on, man. This is cool. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything on your mind or?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Right on. Well, this is super cool. If you don't mind, when I post this on YouTube, if you want, I can put your Facebook page on here. So if anybody wants to see your work or wants to message you about maybe building a road or something.
No, don't worry about tagging me on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely send you the link of your video when I have it posted. I think I have enough videos for you, honestly, to be like a month out by the time I post this one. But yeah, I'll send you the video so you don't have to look on YouTube for it. I'll just send you the straight video.
Yeah, a month out, I'll be at work.
Yeah,
you can go back to 20 seconds.
You can listen to it.
Us, don't forget Saturdays.
Yeah, you can listen to it while you're working or while you're driving somewhere. I think most people honestly only listen to it. I don't think a lot of people watch this.
Yeah.
I didn't get a confirmation on anybody. I say this almost on every episode. I don't get any confirmation from anybody that they don't watch it, but I only assume that they don't watch it. They just listen
Yeah, yeah.
Because looking at our mugs, this whole 2 hours or hour and a half we've been talking is
Kind of boring, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I assume they're just listening to it while they're building or while they're driving, or who knows. But if you want to stay on the line or stay on real quick, I'll end this recording and we'll just say our goodbyes or whatever.
Okay.
But everybody out there, this is Paul Knowles, really cool builder. I enjoy his stuff a lot. And you heard his story. If you guys like this episode, please like the video. Please leave a comment if you have any questions. I'm sure he'll get back to you eventually, or I'll definitely get back to you right when I see the comment. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And that'll help the channel grow. And hope you guys liked it. So until next episode, we'll see you later. All right, everybody. That was Paul Knowles. Pretty cool guy. I enjoyed talking to him. And then when we were saying our goodbyes after the interview, we talked for like another 30 minutes about cars and all kinds of different things. It was pretty cool. I don't think I ever talked to anybody that long after the interview was over. So, well, no, I think I talked to Ken Patterson that long. But man, this guy's a cool guy. If you guys don't know about him, look him up on the Facebook page. The Facebook page has at the top a search bar at the top, like a magnifying glass. You type in that magnifying glass and just type in his name, Paul Knowles. You'll be able to see in the 187 scale group or any other group you're in that he's in, everything he posted. Anything that he commented on or anything he posted, you'll see all his models that he's ever posted in the groups. He does pretty good stuff. I enjoy seeing his work. But, you know, me, I'm a custom car guy, so I like the custom car stuff a lot more than the construction commercial side of his building. But regardless, he's a cool builder, nice guy, and really down to earth too. So check him out on Facebook. I will. He said I didn't have to put his link down to his Facebook page in the description. But I mean, if you guys want to look him up, just type his name in that search bar in any of the groups that you're in that he's in, and it'll pull up all his stuff. So you can check it out there. But yeah, I hope you guys like it. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions, any whatever you want to talk about that I can answer. That's cool. And once again, like every video, there's a Patreon if you guys choose to look at it or want to go to and help out this podcast. So there's that. But yeah, till then, like I said in the interview, we'll see you guys later. You guys have a good day.